I had no money left. I didn't have any good hustles left to try and get more money or drugs. I was at the end. And I'd been in this place before. It wasn't like a new low for me. It was just one I was tired of experiencing. And I didn't know how to live without drugs. I knew there was a way. I'd seen it, I'd experienced it before, but at the point where I was, it was terrifying. And I just didn't want to live that way anymore. And I'm so sorry for the fear that I put in my family when I sent out that letter. But I'm also really grateful that I did, because, I don't know if I'd be here today if I hadn't been taken to the hospital that night. One of the things I want to say is that I realized that this is not a moral or an intelligence issue. Most of the addicts I know are very smart people. And when they stop doing drugs and find a new way to live, they're really great people, morally. And they have, the same values that most of us have. In my experience, criminals don't usually become drug addicts. Drug addicts become criminals. And it's because that's the easiest way to get money for us. And money is nothing to us except for a way to get drugs. That compulsion, that feeling like you can't breathe, I will put down whatever's in my way to feed that. And that's why I will lie to protect my addiction. I will hurt to protect my addiction. I will steal. I will do whatever it takes if I'm using to get one more, because of fear. I don't know another way. I'm scared that there might be another way. It doesn't seem like we're fear-driven people, because I had a gun put to my head once, and I was terrified, but I wasn't terrified of dying. I was terrified that I wasn't going to get to do my drugs before he shot me. And I asked him if that would be okay. And obviously I was able to get out of that situation, as many of us do a lot. We slide out and, survive by the skin of our teeth. And I don't know why some of us do and some of us don't. I've lost 5 friends in the past year to this disease. I found out 4 days ago that another close friend of mine died. And it doesn't really get any easier. I mean, it gets less shocking, but these are people that were sick just like me, and we were all given chances, and those friends are why I'm going to stay clean today, because it's a reminder of what happens when you don't make the most of that chance. Being an addict while using is a hugely conflicted time. You have one part of your brain that's telling you everything you're doing is wrong, and then reach out and ask for help. And then you have another part of your brain that is just all instinct and is telling you that's not right. Don't do that, because what'll happen? You might get sick, and that would be terrible. You might not get help. They might kick you out. People might think you're a bad person. And you might lose the drugs that are allowing you to function. I mean, bottom line is I found something that I thought worked for getting me through the day. And as much as it was obvious that it didn't and made my days much longer and harder to get through, the idea of not having that thing was really scary. Bottom line was, when I wasn't ready, I would do anything to protect it. And relapse is a big part of my story. I found the solution, but I wasn't sure if I was ready to give myself to it. I wasn't sure if I was ready, to live that life. And I sort of stay on the outside, the fringe of what I knew worked. And another thing I want to say is to the nurses and the people that are training to be nurses in this room, you guys are miracle workers. I couldn't have gotten through detoxes without the compassion and love of the nursing staffs that would come into the room and see I'd sweat through the entire bed, and would take a minute to change out my pillows and my bedding and everything, just to help me get through another 10 minutes before I sweat through again. So for what you're doing, thank you, because you have the opportunity to help just a lot of people in general. So I was fortunate enough that my family put me into rehab for the second time, as my mother told you. And, unfortunately, my disease had progressed to the point where that entire 30 days was mostly spent withdrawing. I remember a lot of what I learned there, and there were some things, that really stuck with me that I'm really grateful for, but mostly I was just sick and uncomfortable most of the time. Still, without it, I don't know where I'd be. I went to an aftercare after my rehab, and that's where I really, people can get clean, people can get sober anywhere if it's really what they want. But for me, to where I had progressed, I needed that because I was so lost. I had no idea who I was. I still don't on a lot of days, but I had no idea who I was. I'd been a chameleon for so long and had to fit into so many situations that I'd forgotten what color I was originally. And that's what this place taught me. It was a place called Little Creek Lodge in Pennsylvania. And I can say the name of that place because it's not one of their traditions to keep it anonymous. And I say the name because I truly believe that it saved my life. My parents getting me there saved my life, and my willingness to be there saved my life. Really, anything was better than living in my car, so I was down for whatever they wanted me to do. But I learned to distinguish the truth from the lies, because this disease that I have tells me a lot of lies, and it tells them to me in my own voice, which is the hardest part. It's my voice telling me these things that aren't true, that are just, to a normal person are insane. That I could get high one more time, no one would know. That I could stop after that. Things that are clearly insane, because if I get high or I have a drink or put any chemical in my body, the truth is I have no idea what will happen after that. Chances are it won't be good though. It's going to be bad for me and pretty much anyone around me. And recovery became my idea there. I thought it had been before when I was like, please get me into detox, please get me into rehab. But that was really, getting out of that situation was my idea. Recovering and being a productive member of society hadn't been my idea. And at Little Creek, that happened. And so the message I just want to get across to you guys today is that this is a disease, but there is treatment available. If you have students that are suffering, we can give you, there's meeting lists, there's rehabs, there's outpatient programs, there's inpatient programs, and, communicate with them, because there's seats just waiting for people that are struggling today. I'm sure there's people sick on this campus right now that don't have a way out, they don't know there is one. And my heart goes out to them, because what I've been given is such a gift. And, through my mother's help, I've learned that, to not share it with people, it would really be a sin, to not really give what I have. To the police officers, thank you for being here. There was a time where I probably wouldn't look you guys in the eye, but I'm really glad you're here, because I've seen police save lives of my friends. I've seen that. I've had people OD in my car, and you're not the enemy. I know that today. So thank you for being here. And thank you guys for having me. It's like I said, it's a tough act to follow, but I'm really grateful to have a voice here today. Thank you. My mom just reminded me at this time, if anybody wants to ask me any questions, that'd be fine. Yes?
The big question is, you had family, and at what point for you, you just say, okay, I will accept help, like your life? That's the big question. I will
That's a good question. And a lot of people use the term rock bottom, you know, addicts have to hit bottom. And that may be true. I think everybody's bottom is different. You know, like my friend Corey who came with me, and we met in rehab at Little Creek. And now we live in the same area of Pennsylvania. And our bottoms are very different as far as, you know, what it looks like from the outside. But the feelings are the same, which is that feeling of hopelessness. Like I described, you know, like having to beg for a sandwich. That feeling of just complete confusion is where I had to be to believe that someone might have a better idea than me. And that could happen, you know, homeless, or that could happen waking up in a house one day and not being able to find, you know, the value you're looking for. That feeling could be the exact same for those two people. So I try not to focus on like the depths that somebody's addiction took them to, as much as how they feel when they're there. Because that confusion is a really scary feeling, and sometimes we need to be terrified to accept something that's good for us. So that's what it was for me. It was really just being afraid, because I couldn't go on like it was. Thank you. Go ahead.
I guess this is a question for both of you, or more so for your mother. How did you learn to trust him again? And, you know, you want to trust him, you want to believe him, but you have this, you know, he's going to use again or relapse and forward with it. And when the one life stopped, how did that dynamic work?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you think I trust him now?
I don't know.
I don't. It takes a long time. He still doesn't have a key to my house. I only let him go upstairs for me to sleep when he's home to visit. He lives 4 hours away. Part of our contract was that he wasn't able to come home. In time, I know I will trust him. Not yet.
Go ahead.
I'm in a transition with the student council center, but I also have 3 boys, which is very, what would be something I could approach them? They're not doing anything that I know of. Well, what would be something that wouldn't make them say, Mom, you know, I'm going to talk to your mother.
Mhm.
What would something maybe help do that? I know there's maybe nothing that would help, but the way I could break into
Did you all hear the question?
Okay. The question was basically, how could she approach her sons to talk to them about this issue? And being mom, that's kind of tough, because anything you say, it's your mom, you know? But, I mean, the truth is that people are dying out there, and as a nurse, you probably see that a lot. And I mean, my story is I started off taking a couple of Vicodin here and there, you know, a couple of pills that weren't all that strong, and it was a slow progression. But you know, I'm not sure what to say to your sons to let them see the impact of this, because we know best, you know. We just let you guys think you do, in our minds. So that's a tough one, but.
For me, if I could, from my perspective, I read a book when John was pretty young called On Their Side. And I learned a valuable lesson in that book, and that is you don't have to agree, you can argue about everything, but I think your kid always needs to know that you're on their side. And then in the depths of whatever is happening in their lives, there is a chance, there is a glimmer of hope that they may get through if they know that you're on their side. They still may not.
John,